Hey, what's up? It's Coach E here from Precision Movement, and today we're going to talk about a muscle called the Rectus Femoris. Okay, so the Rectus Femoris goes from up in the originating in the pelvis, on the pelvis, and slides down on the anterior aspect, the superficial aspect of the thigh, inserting into the patellar tendon, okay? So it's one of the quadriceps muscles. It's the most superficial of those muscles, and it's the only two-joint muscle, okay? So the rest of the quadriceps, the vastus lateralis, medialis, and intermedius, they're all single-joint muscles. They only act on the knee, but the rectus femoris, it acts on the hip and creates hip flexion, and it acts on the knee and creates knee extension, okay? So that's very important to understand, because if you want to get the best stretch for it and you want to work it through the full range of motion, then you have to understand how both joints must be to make that happen. Okay, so in terms of stretching the muscle, we need to fully lengthen it. So because it's a hip flexor and a knee extensor, to fully lengthen it, we need knee flexion and hip extension. Okay, that's the fully lengthened position of the rectus femoris. Okay, fully shortened position is hip flexion with knee extension, okay? So there's a little anatomy for you, some biomechanics, so you understand what is happening with this muscle. So the first stretch that we're gonna do, now I'm all about active stretching, building strength through the full range of motion so that you develop range of control, not just range of motion, okay? So it's mobility over flexibility. That's the ultimate goal, because we want to move. For the rectus femoris, or also known as the rec fem, the most common stretch is the foot up on the wall or foot up on a bench or a couch, and then you jam it in there like so. So you fully flex the knee. You see my calf is basically touching my hamstring, and then the hip is in extension. I'm leaning back, and I'm feeling a huge stretch through the rectus femoris and all my quads, okay? Iliopsoas as well. So cool, but it's a static stretch. It's not helping us build range of control. So how can we do this better? So first of all, to build range of control, we've just got to work at the end passive range of motion, okay? If we go so deep into that passive range, there's no way we're going to develop any strength there, because we don't have the neuromuscular control of that range yet. Okay, so what you've got to do is you've got to find the end passive range. So the end passive range is basically, if I'm in this same position, and I stand up, and I actively pull my knee, or pull my heel to my butt. So I'm flexing the knee there. That's my end passive range, okay? So I want to work around that range, as close to that range as possible, go a little bit deeper, but no more. Okay, so I can find that range again, get close to the wall. Okay, and that's pretty much perfect for me, because now to increase the passive range, I just rest on the wall a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to do is you find that range first. Find your end passive range. I'm about there. Okay, now I can increase the stretch a little bit. So now I'm a little bit past my end passive range. End active range, sorry. Here, what I'm going to do is first I'm going to drive my foot into the wall. So that's firing up the quads, including the rectus femoris. So I'm building strength in that range there, okay? So I'm shortening the muscle up, strengthening it, hold it for 5 seconds like a PNF or contract relax style stretch. I call these end range activation sequences. And then you relax and you hang out there a little bit more, okay? Next, you want to work the opposite muscles, the antagonist group, in this case the hamstrings, okay, because we want control in and out of that range of motion. So the hamstrings bring us into this range, the quads, the rectus femoris brings us out of this range, okay? So to do that, I come off the wall a little bit, and then I actively bring my heel to my butt, and I can add a little bit of force by pushing down on my heel, okay? And I'm holding for 5, breathing, and then I can go back into the passive range a little bit, okay? So here, as you can see, we're building strength going in and out of that range, and that's going to help us to achieve lasting, better gains and lasting gains, because we're not just working on the extensibility of the tissue, we're working on the neuromuscular control of of those muscles. So when we have the control there, the brain is like, okay, we have control, no need to tighten up, because we can use that. It's stable, it's functional. Okay? So that's why I'm all about the active range of motion, active range of control. Okay, so do that, a couple cycles on each side. That's the first technique. The second technique is a little bit different, similar but different. Okay? I call it the BJJ quad stretch. It's one of my favorite mobility exercises. Great for warming up before workouts, before anything that you do, sport, because we're getting into these end ranges, but we're doing it actively. Okay, so for this technique, you're gonna post up, one hand, opposite foot. Okay, I'm bridging, and I'm gonna drive my knee forward. But what I wanna focus on when I do this is squeezing the glute, okay? So I'm squeezing the glute, and then I'm pulling it back with my hip flexor to pull back into the seated position. Then I transition, switch sides, drive, squeeze the glute, and when I come back, I pull back with the hip flexor, okay? So it's all about control and building active range, not just passive range. Driving, squeezing the glute, make sure that's on, and then hip flexor to pull me back in, okay? So here you can see we're doing the same thing. We're extending the hip, flexing the knee, so the rectus femoris is fully stretched. That's the end range there. But now we're building strength in the glutes. Okay, so this has more impact on what's happening at the hip. And then the hip flexor, pull it back in. So we're building this neuromuscular control again of this range of motion in all the different muscles, not all the different muscles, but in a bunch of the muscles that influence this range, okay? We haven't really hit the rotators or any of that stuff, but that's okay. This is gonna give you a great rectus femoris stretch. These two exercises together, okay, work wonderfully together because they complement each other. Even though it's in the same range of motion, the control aspect of it, the firing pattern, or what I refer to as the activation pattern, is different. Okay, so when we hit it with all these from different angles, we're solidifying that range. It's like a table. If you have a table, you've got 2 legs, it's gonna be wobbly, it's gonna fall, it might not even stand. 3 legs, a little better, 4 legs, really stable. So we're just gonna hit it from multiple angles and solidify that range so that you can achieve it and keep it for life. All right, so there you have 2 best exercises for stretching out the rectus femoris. We're building mobility, not just flexibility, and this is range that you can use. All right, so if you like this approach, you like this video, make sure you subscribe, show me some love up in here, and if you want more like this, you can head on over to precisionmovement.coach. We've got more in-depth articles, more videos, more content to help you eliminate pain, heal and prevent injuries, and improve your mobility so you can do the things that you love. All right, so thanks again for watching. I'll see you soon.